Hi, Annalisa Six here from the Lady of Leisure and the Sober Curator to bring you the 2023 February horoscope for the sign of Pisces. I just realized I always look down here kind of at myself and that the camera is right there and I should be staring at you. I'm still figuring out this YouTube thing. All right, Pisces, the last but not least sign of the zodiac. I'm excited to talk about you because we enter your season in February. So, a few things that I'm going to note before I start is that I'm not talking about the outer planets in the horoscopes, but I did go over them briefly in the February 2023 synopsis, which is the first video out of this series. And so if you are interested in what more of the outer planets are doing, we'll talk about that. But for now, I might talk about Neptune a little bit. There is a Neptune-Venus conjunction happening in Pisces, which I didn't talk about really for any of the other signs. I did talk about it in the February one, but I might talk about it for you. Okay, so we start out February in Aquarius season, and we've had Mercury in Capricorn since December. And so Mercury entered Capricorn, and then it went retrograde at the end of December, and then it was retrograde the first half of January, station direct, and then we were in the shadow period. And then now that it's the last few days of January, we're finally out of that shadow period. And then we have 2 more weeks of Mercury in Capricorn that get us started for the month of February. Mercury in Capricorn. Capricorn is the sign that represents our relationship to 10th house theme. So the 10th house is our career, how we put ourselves out into the world, the things that we do and the work that we do. And Capricorn's a cardinal earth sign. So it's how we initiate things in the material realm. And Capricorn people tend to be very success focused people, very driven. Pisces, however, takes a little bit of a different approach at life. It's a little more go with the flow. It's more fluid. It's more, let's see what happens and let's just feel into it. And so even though Capricorn and Pisces can get along really well because they're both in the yin polarity, which is, considered to be the feminine polarity of earth and water, they're speaking 2 different languages in the elements that they're in. Earth is more practical, pragmatic, reality focused. Water is more spiritual, emotional, ethereal, imaginative. And so Capricorn's realism can be really offensive to a Pisces imagination and go with the flow energy. However, Pisces has a really hard time with boundaries and structure unless it has a lot of earth energy within it in the chart. And so this is just from a general perspective of just looking at Pisces alone. Pisces has no bounds. It's the endless void. It's the overflowing cup of abundance in terms of spiritual and imaginative energy. It rules the imaginal realm. Everything is possible. There's no such thing as reality in the Pisces realm. Pisces is where we go to imagine things that we don't see in real life. And so, if I want to imagine a unicorn with a tiger's head and, glitter coming out of its butt, that's Pisces would say, yeah, let's do it. That exists. Capricorn, however, is going to say, sure, in your wildest dreams. And Pisces is like, exactly, my wildest dreams. And so one of the things that's really hard when we have Mercury, which is the planet of communication or perceptions, going through Capricorn, it's hard for people like Pisces because we're being asked to focus more on reality in terms of hard, pragmatic, practical truth. And so stuff that can be measured in a physical way. There's plenty of Pisces people that have no problem with that because they have a lot of earth energy in their chart. People that don't have a lot of earth energy have a harder time with the earth element. And so one of the benefits of Mercury in Capricorn for a Pisces person is learning how to value the mundane, learning how to value practical structure, learning how to value the earth element, and learning how to value what people within that element have to bring to the table, which doesn't feel good for Pisces. Capricorn's like, here's the reality. And Pisces is like, ew, get me out of that. So with Mercury, this particular area that it's been hitting in the chart for Pisces has to do with your connections to friends and groups. And so this whole time you might have been thinking about, especially during the retrograde. So during the Mercury retrograde, retrogrades are the area that's up for review or reevaluation. And so when we have Mercury retrograde passing through the area that has to do with our political associations or our friend groups, we might be in a place where we're evaluating or reevaluating those groups. Do we feel in alignment with the people that we're friends with in a real way? Do these people promote our growth or who we are? And so now that Mercury is direct in the first couple weeks of February, you're in a place where you're ready to make action, or you're ready to take action or make steps. I was about to say it the opposite way, but you're ready to take action or make steps towards implementing the things that you've been considering. So maybe that's becoming more involved in a group of people, or your community in some way that you were toying around with. Maybe it's you leaving a group of people or a community that you feel you no longer are in harmony with or share connection with. Either way, it's a positive time for you to take steps towards wherever you're feeling guided. Once Mercury enters the sign of Aquarius, which will happen on February 11th, Mercury is going to be entering the area that typically rules Pisces. And so it's going to be the area that rules the subconscious, the imaginal, and the spiritual realm. And this is a really positive time for you to do spiritual work. It's a positive time for you to decode your dreams and kind of work through anything that's coming up in the subconscious. Could be a detrimental time for you when it comes to recovery. So, I do these horoscopes for my personal blog, but also for the Sober Curator. And so a lot of people that see this are in recovery. And when we have certain transits through this area of the chart, it can trigger our need for escapism, which is often what led us to addiction in the first place, is getting out of the mundane. And it's important that we take the lessons from Mercury and Capricorn, where we have to learn to value things in the mundane or the structure, and we keep those as a part of our spiritual practice. I love spiritual work around dreams. I love spiritual work around manifestation and the imaginal realm, because it frees me from the mundane. But what I also love about it is it teaches us often how the real world, that we call it the three-dimensional world, and that world are actually very connected, and that we don't need drugs or alcohol to access that other world. There's so many spiritual practices that connect us to the imaginal realm through transcendental meditation. And drugs and alcohol, I don't even want to say alcohol because I don't think alcohol, but a lot of people that do psychedelics or certain drugs and like DMT really enjoy those drugs because it's a fast and easy way to connect to that realm, but you skip a bunch of steps. So if you are of a certain spiritual lineage, you are taught very specific ways to access those realms in a way that prepares the body, because you're still in this dense material form. This is a very Taurus, Capricorn energy, our bodies, and Virgo, all the earth element, right? And so when we're in Pisces, we're seeking to escape that earth element. We're seeking to transcend. And there's right ways of doing it and there's wrong ways of doing it. And that is subjective. What I perceive as the right way of doing it is not going to be what somebody else perceives. Some people they're avid supporters of psilocybin or combo or DMT and ayahuasca, things like that. I'm not here to say that there's anything wrong with that, but I am of the ilk that there are ways that we can get there without those helpers. While the helpers, I think, are definitely door openers, if we develop a strong, structured practice, very Capricorn, that is disciplined with our body, we actually can access the Piscean realm in a more positive way for our bodies. Our bodies are actually more of a vessel that is prepped and prepared to access the imaginal realm. And so that's of the schooling and the thought that I come from in my studies and my education and my experiences. I've accessed that realm without drugs or alcohol tons of times, being wired the way that I'm wired. And so Mercury entering into this area is promoting that for you. But if you don't have that and you're not seeking it, you might feel triggered to revisit escapism through modalities that are not as healthy, or could be quick and easy fixes with a longer recovery time, which is often what our bodies go through when we do extreme things like taking psychedelics. It's really, it's a lot for the body when we're doing that. Whereas when we're reaching those states without those things, it's a lot easier on the body, especially if the body's getting the prep and nourishment that it needs before and after. I feel like I can talk about this kind of stuff in the Pisces horoscope. I don't go into a lot of the esoteric studies or things that I do or have done with a lot of the other signs, because if you don't have a lot of 12th house or Piscean or even Sagittarius energy, a lot of these concepts feel really triggering or foreign to a lot of people. But most Pisces people naturally have a really complex relationship with their subconscious reality. And so when you're hearing about these things and you're a Pisces dominant person, it's probably less foreign to you, especially if you have a big imagination, because that's where the imaginal realm lives, is in that 12th house Pisces sector. So that's the mercurial influence for you in February. Venus is in Pisces, and Venus in Pisces is really good feeling. It's a very good energy. It's exalted in Pisces, which means it really enjoys being in the sign of Pisces. And the card that is ruled by Venus in Pisces is the Nine of Cups in the tarot, which is considered to be the wishing card, the card of manifestation, manifesting our dreams into reality. That's why Pisces is such an important sign too, because it's where the vision takes place before it comes into reality. Think of all of the things that we have thanks to science, but what happened before science? A vision. And so one of the things that science fails, or well, I shouldn't say science fails to it, humanity fails to acknowledge, is science doesn't come before the vision. The vision comes before the science. And that vision lives in Pisces. It lives in Piscean energy. It lives in the imagination, the imaginal realm. If there's a will, there's a way. That's Aries. And that comes after, that's the first sign. Pisces is the last sign. Aries is the first sign. But, you know, it's in Aries that we start to really put the will into motion to make that a reality, right? And then Taurus is the real reality. Gemini is the science, and so on and so on. And so Venus in Pisces puts us in this state of pleasure when it comes to the Piscean realm. And where this is hitting for you is in identity. So the first half of February, you are very much supported in falling in love with yourself and exploring your identity in ways that make you feel pleasure. Again, if you're an addict, you have to be mindful to not fall into patterns of behavior for pleasure to escape reality that put responsibilities and structure in a negative place. You want to lean into it in ways that promote growth and health and a better life, not the other way around. And that's my perspective on it. Of course, that's up to you. But Venus will be there until the 20th, and then it's going to enter Aries on the 20th. And so that's actually going to be the area once Venus leaves the area of your chart that has to do with you, your identity. It's going to enter the area that has to do with self-worth and material stability. So this is a great time to level up when it comes to your money and the way that you manage your money, but also your relationship to how you value yourself in the world. So if this is something where you feel like you want to start charging more or asking for more at your job, this is a good time to do that, is the end of February. Jupiter's already in Aries, and so Jupiter's already enhancing that area of the chart and has been since December. So the end of December, Jupiter entered Aries for the second time and is now making its way through Aries. And it's been in Aries since then. So you have that little boost. When Venus and Jupiter meet, that's going to be really positive for you, which happens the last day of February on the 28th. And so hopefully there's lots of material financial abundance coming towards you. And again, it's a great time to build self-confidence around your self-worth. Acts of self-love are really positive for you in February. Mars in Gemini. So Mars has been in Gemini since the end of August. It went retrograde at the end of October, direct in January, and now it's finally going to make its last way through Gemini through all of February and then the first half of March. And so we have Mars 10 degrees through 18 degrees of Gemini, and where that's hitting in the Pisces chart has to do with your relationship to communication. And so, you know, Gemini already rules communication. And Mars has been here probably causing some conflict with your communication. Again, Pisces really has to work on boundaries and advocating for itself, because Pisces tends to be so go with the flow and can fall into a victim martyr dynamic in a similar way Virgo can. Virgo and Pisces are the polarity of each other, and Pisces tends to say yes to too many things and not set good boundaries, and then build resentment or feel burnt out or tired, and then need to isolate and completely cut itself off. And so Mars in Gemini has probably been an exercise for you to advocate for yourself, and you've probably been experiencing conflict with others that requires you to have to learn how to have healthy communication. That theme's not over for February, but you're definitely working through the last piece of it and throughout March. And then Venus is going to enter Gemini at the last half of April and come and really be resolution time. Like once Venus is in Gemini, we're going to resolve a lot of the stuff that Mars brought up. So that's something to kind of look forward to, but you're still kind of in the thick of it. And you know, there's definitely a lot that can be said for Mars and Gemini in this placement. If you've had an increase in anxiety, if your nervous system has felt blown out, if you feel like you're overthinking, all of those themes are really dominant for that placement. And so this is also a really positive time for you to work on anxiety and having modalities of mental health exercises that help you through your anxiety, and possibly having, you know, a therapist or a coach help you find some ways to work through your process, your mental process in that way, if that's something that you've been going through. So we're going to talk about the moon. So we have a full moon on February 5th at 16 degrees of Leo. And this is going to be a really, really positive time for you to focus on your health. So health is a big highlight for the Pisces individual. And Leo rules the spine and the heart. So heart health and spinal health is going to be really important for the full moon. So if you've been having any issues with your heart health or your back, setting intentions around calling in more modalities to help you work on that for that full moon energy is really good. The other area that this is impacting is your daily routine. So I know, for example, like I am working with a physical therapist that I've been working with for the last 4 years, and it's been life-changing. She's amazing. I love her. If she watches this, hey, what's up? And she's also a Leo like me, which is great because we get along really well. But one of the things that I have a hard time with still, even after 4 years of physical therapy, is having a daily routine where I really structure in my physical therapy exercises diligently. I do them every week. I would say a few days a week, but you know, ideally I would like to do them every day. I have the time. I really have no reason to not be doing them every day. I just get lazy and just don't do it. And then, you know, my body suffers because of that. And so this full moon, with the area that it's hitting in the Pisces chart, that kind of habit or pattern might come up for you, and you might feel motivated to want to set some intentions for this full moon on creating better structures around your daily routine that promote good health, especially for the heart and the spine, because it's in Leo. So that's something. Maybe too, like finding somebody to work with the way that, you know, I have, like having my physical therapist in my life, like keeps me, you know, more consistent than I probably would be if I didn't see her so regularly. So that could be something that you set an intention for too, you know, working with somebody that is going to help you with putting those things into place. And if it's daily routine, you know, that could be a coach of some kind that helps you put better habits into place. And if it's health, same thing, you know. The new moon we have, so we're going to enter your season, Pisces. Happy birthday to all of the February Pisces on the 19th of February. And then the day after that, we have a new moon at 1 degree Pisces. And that new moon is going to be really positive for you to set intentions around your relationship to yourself. So if you have insecurities or self-doubt or anything that kind of makes you have a negative relationship to your sense of self. The new moon's a really powerful time for you to work on healing that and working more self-acceptance, self-love, personal empowerment into the mix. It's also a great moon for hunkering in at home and focusing on self-care, especially for where some of these other planets are. The Neptune and Venus conjunction, I'm just going to touch on really quick because I didn't touch on it for the other signs, but because you're Pisces, I want to touch on it for you. So on February 18th, so the day before we enter Pisces season, oh, I'm sorry, I was looking at the wrong thing. Don't listen to that. On, it looks like the 15th, let's see, I think it's the 15th, we have Venus and Neptune making a conjunction. And so that's going to be, again, in that area of the chart that has to do with identity. And this is such an empowering energy for personal creativity, inspiration, connecting to your own spirituality. And so that might be a date on the calendar where you carve out some time to do something pleasurable for yourself that connects you to those things: art, music, spirituality, all of that stuff. It should be a day that feels pretty good, I think. Let's see what else is going on there. Yeah, I think for the most part, that should be a pretty positive day for most of us. So that is your horoscope for February 2023. Good luck, Pisces.